You're going to keep doing this and keep spinning it and spinning it and spinning it, or are you going to choose to let it go and recover from OCD? So it's about choosing to let it go, pushing through to full recovery. Hi everyone, I'm GREYMOND. Today we're going to be answering questions about OCD recovery. Let's get started. So the first question is, why is my OCD getting worse? And if your OCD is getting worse, the main reason is because you are allowing yourself to react to these thoughts. Yes, the fear is coming in. Yes, the panic is coming in. Yes, the anxiety is high. But you have to, just like I say in all the other videos, right? You have to step over that anxiety even though it's there. The anxiety is being sent on autopilot. There's nothing you can do about it right now. But if you step over it and choose not to react to it, choose not to react to it. That doesn't mean that it's going to be easy or that it's not going to be painful. It is going to be painful. There's no way to get around it, but you have to refuse reassurance. The more reassurance you do, the more you check, analyze, self-reassure, try to figure things out, the more you're doing all these things, the worse OCD gets. You're starting to feed that connection between fear and the thought. So the more you feed the connection, the stronger the connection gets. So, a lot of the times people will say, even though I'm watching something on TV that has to do with my OCD theme, and it's a show and I know it has nothing to do with anything, I'm still reacting. That happens all the time because there's a connection in your brain between fear and this thought, or this type of thought, or this type of theme. So in order to break it, you have to refuse to allow yourself to pay attention to the thought. So it's there, it's in the back of your mind, but you're choosing not to react to it. So you're just letting it be there. You're just letting it be there and you're going about your business. And you might feel feelings of guilt, of shame, of I'm a bad person, why, I should be checking this out, I should be trying to figure it out, I should be taking some steps to do that. Don't allow yourself to buy into it. That's all happening. You know how I was saying that you're going down the center of the corridor? There's things coming at you here, things coming at you here, but you are choosing not to react. The more you refuse reaction, the better you're going to start to feel. And what you're going to see is that as you keep going, the thoughts actually at first are going to increase, so just prepare yourself for that because it will happen. It happens pretty much for everybody. But as you keep going, they'll start to decrease. The reason why they increase in the beginning is because your mind is going to try to get you back in the state of fear, in the state of reassurance, because your mind is viewing the situation as being real. So, and why is it viewing it as being real? Because you've reacted to it over a long period of time. So now what's done is done. It's now viewing it as real. Fine. To undo that, you have to show your mind over and over and over again that it's not real. As you keep showing this to your mind by refusing reassurance, all these things, your mind doesn't quite believe you. It's going to try to pull all the stops, send you all kinds of thoughts, details, whatever, to get you back into the reaction. So just don't allow that to happen. It will come back. The thoughts will come back, right? To you over and over again, but it's your reaction that matters. If you withstand it and still not react, even though your mind is sending you these thoughts, you're gonna see that your mind will start to send you less thoughts, the anxiety will start to go down. It's kind of like your mind is testing to see if there is actual danger here. And that part of the mind, again, you always have to go back to this. It has no idea what the thought actually is. It doesn't understand it. It's a reactionary part of the mind, like traffic control. Is this important or not? You tell me, right? So that's what your mind is trying to figure out from you. Is this thought important or not? As long as you keep powering it up, it's going to take it to mean that the thought is important, and it's going to send you more thoughts. And that's why if you get stuck in this rut of, getting the same thoughts over and over again, that is why it's happening, because you keep reacting. The reaction somewhere is happening. You have to figure out what you're doing. Is it avoidance? Are you asking other people? Are you doing self-reassurance? Are you checking online? What is it? Are you doing rituals, whether physical rituals or mental rituals? Somewhere you are powering it up with fear. Where is it? Let's find that spot where you're powering it up with fear and start to reduce it until you eliminate it. If you take the power away from this thought, the thought is going to go away. It's all about how are you feeding it. The more you feed it, the more it grows. And this is why I say that, with OCD, if you keep feeding it for 50 years, you're gonna have OCD for 50 years. If after that 50 years you decide, you know what, forget it, I'm not gonna feed it anymore, it's gonna go away, even though you've had it that long. It's your mind is set up in a way that the thoughts are they're able to the way it reacts to each thought is able to switch. And the reason being is because this is actually set up for real situations. So say, for example, in real life, in a real situation, you had some sort of a danger for 50 years. Now the danger has passed, right? For a while, you're still gonna have this kind of like unplugging, but then it goes away, and then you never worry about this danger anymore. So there's like a transition period a little bit, but after that it's gone. It's flexible. The brain is flexible like that it's able to do that. But it won't happen if you don't do the work. You have to do the work to recover. That is very, very, very important. It's a must. The more you do the work, the better you're gonna feel. But it's, whenever you have this situation where am I going to do reassurance? I feel really bad. I really feel like I need to ask. I really feel like I need to check, that kind of angst and that feeling of, I can't move on. I'm going to be 90 years old. This is what everybody tells me. And this is what I experienced as well when I had OCD is I'm going to be 90 years old, still having this thought. If I don't figure it out, I'm going to be 90, still having it. And it's never true. Don't buy into it. Whatever it's telling you, don't buy into it. Just if you can't let go of it completely, the one thing that you can do is delay. So say, okay, you know what? I'm not even thinking rationally right now. I'm overwhelmed with OCD. I'm gonna wait until, say, 2 hours from now or till the morning. Sleeping on it really helps. So I'm gonna wait until morning, and then I'm gonna worry about it. Then I'm gonna try to figure it out or whatever. Because by morning, you're gonna feel a lot better if you're not powering it up. And then by morning, you might be able to wake up and say, you know what, I'll just let it be. So that's a strategy that's effective, especially in the beginning when you're really struggling to refuse rituals, whether physical or mental, right? And then also another thing is, another strategy would be to keep track of how many things you're doing. So, okay, I'm allowing myself maximum of this amount of rituals per hour or per day or whatever. Do you know what I mean? And then you're not allowing yourself any more. So, and then you start to cut it down. So you're gradually going less and less until you're fully clearing it out. So those are just some of the different things that you can do. And then you will see that, because the original question was, why is my OCD getting worse? This is why it was getting worse. Now this is why it's getting better. Do you know what I mean? You can change it around. This is not out of your control. I know, I've had OCD myself, so I understand how it feels. And it does feel like you have no control over it, but really you do have control. You're choosing not to exercise the control, and that's the problem. If you say, forget it, any thought that has to do with my theme, I'm done with it. I'm not doing this. I'm not letting it win anymore. And then you push through like that, you will see that it will start to lift. And every day, even though you're getting lots of thoughts, especially in the beginning, you're going to be getting more thoughts. The amount of anxiety is going to be starting to go down. You'll see it, you'll feel it, and then you won't have to just trust me on what I'm saying. You'll see it firsthand in your own experience. Next question is, what is the root cause of OCD, guilt and shame? Okay, so the root cause of the guilt and shame and other really emotions, whether mental or physical, that come along with OCD is the fact that your mind is fully convinced that the thought is true, because you've convinced it over time that it's true by reacting. So now it's kind of mimicking what it would be like if it was really true. So how would you react if this thought was true? Well, depending on the thought, you might feel guilty, you might feel ashamed, you might feel like you're a bad person. Those are kind of very common things that people with OCD feel, right? Depending on the kind of thoughts they have. So it's because your mind is trying to mimic a situation as if the situation is real. Why is it trying to do that? Because it's, again, trying to get you back into protecting yourself, into reacting, doing reassurance, all of this. As long as you keep doing that, your mind is going to be kind of sending you the thoughts, at the same time feeling comfortable that you are protecting yourself. As soon as you stop protecting yourself, at first it will kind of almost like a rebel against you, but then it will get with the program. But you have to set that program. The mind, it's kind of like a loop. Once it started to view something as real, it just keeps looping it over and over again. The only one who can stop it is you. You know, if you tell your mind, no, this is the new programming, I'm reprogramming my mind now. You know, and when you do that, then it will reprogram itself. Another thing, keep in mind that if, say, for example, you've been doing a ritual or a compulsion, whatever kind of behavior you do, right? If you've been doing it for a long time and all of a sudden you stopped and then you kind of ask yourself, well, I've done all this work, why am I not feeling better? Because you have to kind of compare how many times you said to your mind that yes, this is important versus how many times you said to your mind that this is not important. And then you have to kind of allow it a little bit of time to adjust, but it doesn't take that long. I would say, you know, every week you should feel better. So, but just, you know, if you feel like I'm doing the work, but I'm not really seeing much of a result yet, allow it some time. You know, not a long time, but allow it another week or two, just to, you know, give your brain a chance to catch up. What if you have had the same theme for 20 years? Doesn't matter. You know, I've seen people recover after 20 years, after 50 years, and I've seen people have a really hard time just having OCD just for a few months. It really, I mean, it matters a little bit because it's kind of ingrained in the brain, but it doesn't matter as much as it seems like it would matter. It really is all about your mindset. If you're ready to fight, you know, when people contact me to do the recovery program, the first question I ask them is, are you going to fight? Because if I'm going to put 100% of my effort to get you recovered, you know, it's still not going to be enough if you put nothing, right? So it's, I do my part, you do your part, but you have to do your part. You have to do exposures. You have to do the work. You have to do the work to recover. There's no other way, you know? Can OCD be caused by trauma can OCD be caused by trauma different from other OCD? Can OCD be caused by trauma? Yes and no. You know, I think that really people, you know, again, I've been doing this for, I guess, I usually say 8 years, but I think it's now past 8 years. So let's say 9 years. And I can tell you that really, I don't see a correlation between the kind of life the person has and their OCD. I see people have great lives. I see people have terrible lives. I see people have good childhoods. I see people have bad childhoods. I see it runs in some families. I see it doesn't run in some families. I don't really see something that happens constantly. The only thing that does is that every person I've ever talked to who had OCD are very sensitive and are pretty much like that, born that way or like that since early childhood. So the person is generally a very nice, very sensitive, very caring person, you know, and I think that this is the kind of personality that is congruent to actually getting OCD. Next question is, how can I ignore the thoughts when they seem so loud? So the best thing to do is to give yourself something else to focus on. So you gotta take, if you think of your attention as a stream, right? So you're directing your attention here, right? Over and over to the OCD thought, right? Okay, now what we're gonna do is we're gonna just shift it over into something that is actually valid, something that is from your real life. Right? So when you're having a hard time, you know, shifting over your attention, just picturing it as a stream, you shift it over to something that is productive. I would say anything physical is good, anything all-encompassing is good, such as going somewhere where you're going to be busy because you're in a new environment, giving your mind a lot to focus on. If you're inside, go outside. If you're outside, go inside. So you're giving your mind different things too. Like there's the visually things are different. Somebody's talking to you, you're doing some activity. So you're shifting away from the thought. The thought comes in, it's loud. You're saying, okay, fine, I'll give it energy, but not right now. I'll delay it. And then that's where the delay technique comes in. So doing it kind of that way and creating a combination that works for you, but also at the same time not falling back on, well, I'll just delay it, I'll just do it later, or I'll just do one ritual. Push yourself as far as you can possibly go right now. You don't need to push yourself in a state of total panic, right? Because the exposure and response prevention are one and the same, right? Where it's a chain, right? There's exposure and response prevention. Just doing exposure does nothing. You're doing exposures all the time if you have OCD, right? The whole thing is just a giant trigger, a giant exposure, right? It's how you're reacting to the thought that's important. So when you're doing exposure, it's kind of like you're signing the contract with yourself that you're going to do response prevention. It's very, very important. So, but pushing yourself every day to do it, I can tell you, again, because I've been doing it for so long with people, the people that recover the fastest are the ones when I get on the phone with them, they're like, okay, Ali, what are we going to do today? Where are we going? What are we doing? You know what I mean? Like it's, they're ready. They're willing to do the work. Those people recover really fast because they're motivated, If you keep delaying, the more you delay, the more you're delaying your recovery, and at the same time, you're getting worse as you're delaying. So it's not a good idea. Next question is, why do we get OCD in the dreams? So the reason why a lot of the times OCD comes in the dreams is because you are not addressing it in real life. So if you're not addressing it in real life, what's a mind going to do? It's going to send it to you in the dream to somehow tell you, hey, pay attention to this is important. Why does it think it's important? Because you've made it think that it's important in the past by reacting. So there's nothing you can do about it. It's gonna go away on its own. It's just when OCD is really high and then you're not solving it, it can come in a dream. Once your OCD gets down to like a much lower level, you'll see less and less of that happening, and it can happen from time to time still, but it's gonna be much, much lower, and then it's gonna go completely. Why do a lot of people say OCD can't be cured, only put into remission until it fires up again? Because, okay, so let's break this down. Who are these a lot of people? A lot of people being doctors. I'm telling you right now, just talking to the doctor once a week is definitely not enough unless you are extremely motivated yourself. Because you're not going to do the work once a week. You're going to do the work every hour of every day. So that hour of you talk to the doctor and, hopefully they're a specialist who knows what they're talking about, a lot of the times it's just, blah, 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 talk about the childhood, here's a prescription, those kinds of things. It's going to do nothing. And because doctors, that's what doctors generally, and again, because most of my clients have doctors that they see for OCD, and most of them, to be honest, don't know what they're talking about, which is the reason why my clients found me in the first place. They can't help you, so they're saying, I've never helped anybody, I've never seen anybody recover, and therefore nobody recovers. That is their opinion on it. In terms of people, when people say you can't be cured, is because they're listening to the doctors, taking the medication, maybe feeling a slight bit better. That's about it. Still thoughts are coming in, in terms of medication, whether you're taking antidepressants, antipsychotics, the best I've heard is, I think maybe I feel a little bit better. That is the best that I've heard. And the person is not even sure if they feel better or not. That's kind of what I generally actually hear. In terms of the thoughts, I have not seen it take the thoughts away. I think maybe 1 or 2 times somebody said that to me, but generally it doesn't happen. It doesn't work that way. And I talk to hundreds of people, so I'm like a walking statistic when it comes to OCD in that sense. It's what it is. You put in the work. I can tell you, I recovered. My clients recover. You can recover. You can do this, but it's work. You have to do the work to recover. Popping a pill is not gonna do it. Talking to somebody once a week, and in between those conversations, doing reassurance, checking, analyzing, asking people, that's not gonna work either. It's, you just say, okay, you know what? I'm done living my life this way. I'm done letting OCD take piece by piece things out of my life. I'm not doing this anymore. And I'm now gonna actually buckle down and do the work. That's how you recover. Not a lot of people, it's not even that not a lot of people know how to do this. It's a lot of it is that the doctors don't, because they don't know, they don't actually teach patients of what they need to know, and they don't teach patients how OCD works. So the person doesn't know. The doctor told me to take a pill. I took a pill. It didn't make me feel better. I guess OCD is not curable. The doctor gave the person the pill. Oh, the person didn't get better. So the doctor says, I guess OCD is not curable. So it's kind of like it becomes its own little mechanism, so it's, I can tell you, even if you look under the comments of my videos, you can see people saying like, yes, I am recovering, yes, this is working, so it's, it speaks for itself. But I can't stress it enough, guys. I know I repeat it all the time, but you have to do the work for this to happen. You just have to, and it will happen. It is a lot of work, but you get your whole life back. Your whole life is now free from OCD. Like, isn't that worth the effort? Next question is, how common is it for people to get a false memory, believe it, justify and normalize it in their own head, and forgive themselves for it, and live with it for years before it becomes too much and you start to feel awful about it? False memory can be from years ago or from 2 seconds ago. It doesn't really matter. How you justified it in your mind also doesn't matter, because it's false memory. So if you chose to believe the false memory and then justified it, that could happen. If you obsessed about it for years, that could happen. There could be, the point is that the actual thought is not real. And the more you view it as real, the more you power it up. So yeah, you can go through this whole process, and it's still, just because you believed it, justified it, and lived with it, it doesn't make it any more true, you know what I mean? Like, it's still it's a false thought, You can believe it, it's a false thought. You cannot believe it, it's a false thought. It didn't happen, So it's just, but the way you interpreted it could be in any way. So, and the follow-up question, well, this is kind of reassurance. As my memory is from so many years back and attached to a real event, how do I know that I wouldn't have done the thing that I think the person's worried about they did when they were very young? I was very different now that I am older. So, it's just one of those things. The more you reassure yourself, the more you try to figure it out. Well, would I do it then? Would I have done it now? What's the difference? Well, am I, maybe before I was a different person. And you're just spinning it in your head over and over and over again. You can't allow yourself to go down this track. So you're choosing not to solve it. You're stepping over the anxiety, you're stepping over the fear, you're allowing it to be there, but you're just stepping over it and keep going on your way towards the recovery. It's still going to be there in your mind, asking you questions all the time, but you're choosing not to answer. You're choosing not to give in to it. Next question is, I find every time I'm doing really well, I get a thought that says, I've assumed this memory is false for a good few years. There must be some basis for starting them. Anyways, so the person is worried, what if I didn't remember, those kinds of things. And again, any thought can pop into your head. It's about this situation. It's about the same thing about the false memory. What are you doing with it? Are you going to keep reacting? Are you going to keep doing this and keep spinning it and spinning it and spinning it? Or are you going to choose to let it go and recover from OCD? So it's about choosing to let it go, pushing through to full recovery. This is the end of the show. If I didn't answer your question, please leave it below this video. I will pick it up on the next show. Thank you so much for watching. If you would like to do the recovery program, the information is on youhaveocd.com. Again, all the information is below. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.